According to the profound psychology of Carl Jung, the deepest and most essential truths of our lives are never found in the noisy, distracting outside world. They are discovered in the quiet, mysterious, and symbolic language of the soul. Jung believed that when two souls are destined to truly connect, what occurs between them is not just simple affection. It is a powerful and sacred form of alchemy. It is the unconscious mind of one person seeking its own reflection, its own forgotten parts, in the essence of another. So, when a connection you encounter stirs something ancient and resonant deep inside of you, when its presence brings a brilliant light to your darkest shadows and exposes feelings so profound you can't possibly explain them, you are not just experiencing love, you are touching the divine. This kind of bond is not ordinary. It is a living mirror that shows you, with breathtaking and sometimes painful clarity, exactly who you are. It is a bond that seems to defy time, logic, and even physical distance. And Jung would say of such a connection, if it changes you, if it breaks you open and calls you relentlessly inward, then it is not merely a relationship, it is a revelation. This is your invitation to explore that sacred territory, the mysterious landscape where love meets the unconscious, and where your soul, after a long slumber, finally begins to remember what it truly came here to feel. There are certain encounters we have in life that seem to completely defy logic. You meet someone, and it feels as though something ancient and powerful within you has suddenly been stirred from a deep sleep. You don't know why, and you cannot possibly explain how, but there is an immediate, undeniable, and often unnerving feeling that this is not the first time your paths have crossed. In a room full of people, their energy seems to call directly to you, not with noise or outward flare, but with a profound and resonant silence. This is not the feeling of ordinary love or fleeting attraction. It is something older, something deeper, something that feels as though it belongs not just to this moment in time, but to a reality that lives and breathes beneath time itself. The rational mind may question it, may try to analyze it, or even dismiss it as mere fantasy, but the soul always knows. Before you have exchanged a single word, before you understand their personal story or have shared any of your own, there is a powerful and unmistakable recognition. It can manifest as a deep inner stillness, a feeling of coming home, or sometimes as a sudden and jarring awakening. And in that moment of recognition, a question forms in your heart, a question that has no language, only a deep and profound feeling. It's as though a part of you that had been dormant for your entire life suddenly opens its eyes and sees for the first time. What most people call attraction is often a shallow experience, rooted in the ego's desires or the psychological mechanism of projection. But this is different. This is not just meeting someone who reflects what you want. This is meeting someone who reflects something you forgot you are. They don't just stir your emotions. They disturb your inner world in a way that demands your full attention. Their presence doesn't just draw you in. It pulls you deeper and deeper into yourself. This is the mysterious language of the unconscious, a realm where symbols, dreams, and energetic frequencies shape our experience far more powerfully than our conscious thoughts ever could. The soul does not speak in the linear language of words. It speaks in the vibrational language of resonance. And when you meet someone who matches your unique soul frequency, it's not your mind that reacts first. It's your entire being. You might feel an inexplicable sense of calm around them, as if you can finally exhale after a lifetime of holding your breath. Or you might feel a strange and persistent restlessness, a divine agitation. You might feel safer than you have ever felt before, or you might feel completely and terrifyingly exposed. But no matter what form this initial activation takes, the bond doesn't ask for a surface-level connection. It has no interest in pleasantries or pretense. It wants depth. It wants truth. It wants to strip away everything that is false within you, so that only the pure, uncut essence of your being remains. And in that raw, authentic essence, you truly see them, and for the first time, you truly see yourself. These moments, these sacred encounters, are not accidents. Jung would suggest they are appointments, written into the blueprint of your soul long before your body knew the path. You recognize them not because you have necessarily known them in this physical life, but because your soul has been preparing for this very encounter long before your conscious awareness finally caught up. This isn't about a romantic fantasy or a simplistic idea of fate. It is about a profound alignment, an energetic alignment, and a state of spiritual readiness. You might notice how their eyes feel like home, or how their presence, even in silence, feels like a long-awaited return. You might begin to experience a series of strange and meaningful coincidences, what Jung called synchronicities. You may meet at impossible times or in unexpected places. You might share remarkably similar dreams without having spoken of them, or you may find that you can sense each other's thoughts and feelings across a distance. These are not mere chances. These are sacred markers, signs from the universe that a deeper, invisible thread is pulling you both towards something far more meaningful than a typical relationship. And yet, it doesn't always feel soft. This connection doesn't always feel like bliss, because this kind of bond does not come to soothe your ego. It comes to reveal it. It comes to wake you up. Sometimes it brings far more questions than it does answers. Sometimes it brings a period of chaos before it brings clarity. But underneath all the turmoil and all the questioning, there is a steady, unwavering knowing, a deep feeling that this connection is a catalyst. It's not meant to just give you comfort. It is designed to transform you. This kind of love, or whatever word you choose to give to it, is divine, not because of how it looks on the outside, but because of what it activates on the inside. You are powerfully reminded of who you truly are when you are near them. And it's not the version of you that the world has shaped and conditioned, but the original, essential version of you that existed before you were ever wounded, before you learned to hide your light, and before you learned to shrink yourself to fit into smaller spaces. This bond moves past the limits of logic because it was never born from logic. It lives and breathes in the deep, mysterious waters of the unconscious, in the foundational layers of who you are. And that is why it can never be controlled, predicted, or manipulated. It can only be honored. Sometimes, this profound connection leads to a lifelong union. Other times, its purpose is simply to catalyze a powerful awakening before you both go your separate ways. But either way, it leaves you irrevocably changed. If you have ever met someone who makes you feel this way, like your soul has been gently tapped on the shoulder, like your entire being has turned toward them before you even understood why, then know this: you are not experiencing ordinary love. You are standing in the presence of something sacred and divine. And once that door within you has been opened, you can never truly go back to sleep. There is something powerful and unmistakable that happens when you meet someone whose presence doesn't just soothe you. It activates something deep inside of you. It is not always a gentle or comfortable activation. It may arrive as a quiet, persistent ache in your heart, a strange stirring in your soul, or an emotional intensity so profound that you simply cannot put it into words. It can feel like a brilliant shaft of light flooding into a room that has been sealed shut for years. Suddenly, parts of yourself that you didn't even know were asleep begin to stir, to speak, and to demand acknowledgement. And it is in that precise moment that you begin to realize a profound truth. This person isn't just here to love you. They are here to awaken you. This is the fundamental distinction that separates an ordinary connection from a truly sacred one. Most relationships are built upon a foundation of comfort, familiarity, or shared life goals. But this kind of bond is different. It is a divine spark that ignites not only feelings of affection, but a powerful, life-altering awareness. In their presence, you don't just feel seen by them. You begin to truly see yourself more clearly than ever before. And it is not the curated, polished version of yourself that you carefully present to the world, but the raw, unfiltered, and often inconvenient truths that lie just beneath the surface. Their presence becomes a living, breathing mirror. And in that mirror, your highest potential, your deepest pain, and your soul's true purpose all rise to the surface simultaneously. At first, this experience can feel incredibly disorienting. We have been taught by society to believe that true love is always a feeling of ease, that a deep connection should be smooth, comfortable, and safe. But when something divine touches your life, it rarely asks for your comfort. It asks for your truth. And truth is rarely soft. It is often piercing. It is unrelenting. It does not come to flatter your ego. It comes to reveal your soul. And so, when someone walks into your life and begins to stir the very depths of your being, do not be so quick to label the resulting inner turmoil as chaos or dysfunction. That inner tension may not be a sign that something is wrong. It may be the undeniable feeling of profound growth trying to take root in the soil of your heart. We spend so much of our lives unconsciously avoiding ourselves. We distract ourselves with work. We perform social roles. We stay relentlessly busy, all so that we don't have to truly feel the full spectrum of our inner world. But certain souls come into our lives and disrupt that pattern completely. They bring with them an energetic frequency that makes emotional numbness impossible. Around them, pretending doesn't work. The carefully constructed masks begin to crack. The rehearsed, familiar identity begins to fall away, not because they are actively trying to force it, but simply because their very presence invites something more real, more authentic, to emerge from within you. They don't just love the parts of you that are easy to love. Their energy seems to reach into the hidden, forgotten corners of your being, the unhealed places, the abandoned dreams, the repressed desires. And, without even meaning to, they bring all of these hidden parts into the light of your awareness. Sometimes they do this gently, with a look or a word. Sometimes they do it just by being who they are. But the result is always the same. You begin to feel things you didn't know you were capable of feeling. You begin to remember parts of yourself you thought you had long since forgotten. You begin to face the very things you have spent years running from. This is precisely why such connections are not always comfortable. In fact, they can feel overwhelming, intense, and deeply challenging. But this intensity is not a sign of danger. It is the feeling of aliveness. It is your soul waking up from a long slumber. It is your unconscious mind surfacing with urgent and important messages it can no longer afford to keep hidden. In the presence of this connection, you may find that you cry more, you dream more, you question more. You may feel like your entire emotional landscape is being completely rewritten. That is not a sign of instability. That is the very definition of transformation. You see, divine bonds don't come into our lives to validate our current self. They come to help us meet our higher self. They are not here to maintain the identity of who you have been. They are here to challenge the walls you have built around your heart, to guide you beyond your limiting patterns, and to bring you face to face with the magnificent truth of what you truly are beneath all of your conditioning. And yet, this profound connection is not about the other person alone. It is not about possession, obsession, or dependency. It is about what they awaken within you. The journey is not about clinging to them. It is about listening intently to what their presence is trying to teach you about yourself. Very often, you will find that they are not the source of the immense love you feel. They are simply the mirror that is powerful enough to reflect your own capacity for love back to you. And in that sacred reflection, you begin to realize that the love, the strength, the clarity, and the wisdom were always within you. You just needed the right presence to help you unlock it. So, if someone walks into your life and their mere presence shakes you, stirs you, and brings your emotions and memories rushing to the surface like a powerful tide, I urge you not to run. That is not ordinary love you are experiencing. That is a divine bond, doing exactly what it came to do, to wake you up to your own depth, your own capacity, and your own undeniable truth. There is a common and pervasive misunderstanding in our culture that love, if it is real and true, should always feel easy. We are taught that it should calm us, soothe us, and offer a safe resting place from the many demands of life. But there is a kind of connection that doesn't lull you into comfort. It wakes you up. And when you are blessed enough to experience it, you begin to understand that not all love is here to make you feel safe. Some love is here to help you grow. When a bond is truly divine, it doesn't just draw you into a state of cozy closeness. It pulls you relentlessly toward expansion. In its presence, you find yourself thinking differently, questioning the ways you have settled for less in your life, and sensing that something deep inside of you is stretching far beyond what it used to believe was possible. This is not the kind of connection that fits neatly into our old, conventional definitions of romance. It is disruptive in the most beautiful and necessary way, not because it is chaotic or unstable, but because it challenges the small, fearful self to give way to something more whole, more real, and more authentic. You will begin to notice that this person doesn't just comfort your wounds. They seem to call them out into the light, not with harsh criticism, but through a powerful, loving reflection. You see yourself more clearly in their presence than you ever have before, and sometimes that clarity stings. You suddenly recognize how much of your true self you have hidden, how often you have played small to make others comfortable, and how many of your own precious dreams you have abandoned just to feel accepted. And in that moment of stinging clarity, something within you finally refuses to keep living asleep. You start remembering the version of you that once had a fire in your eyes, the one who was brave enough to risk being misunderstood just to live an honest life. But the soul does not awaken in stillness alone. It often awakens in friction, in contrast, and in that sacred space where your old, limiting patterns can no longer survive next to the powerful truth that this connection brings out of you. You may find yourself growing in directions you had never considered before. You may find yourself healing parts of your past you didn't even know were broken. You may find yourself confronting the very shadows that have long shaped your behavior without your conscious consent. And none of this happens because the other person told you to change. It happens because their energy, their very essence, brings out something sacred in you that will no longer accept your old limits. There is no map for this kind of journey. There is no map for this kind of journey. It doesn't follow conventional rules or predictable timelines. It offers no guarantees of a particular outcome, But it does offer one thing with unwavering certainty. It offers you the truth. And when that truth finally rises to the surface of your awareness, it changes everything. You begin to understand, with a clarity that is both startling and liberating, that the profound growth you are experiencing isn't just a side effect of this bond. It is its very purpose. This person has come into your life not to build a comfortable existence with the version of you that others have molded, but to awaken the magnificent, authentic version that life was always trying to shape from within. Ordinary love often allows you to remain comfortably where you are. A divine connection relentlessly pushes you toward where you are truly meant to be. And that is precisely why it can feel so incredibly intense, so disruptive, and at times, so overwhelming. A deep part of you knows, on an intuitive level, that this isn't about comfort. This is about transformation. This isn't about staying the same and having someone validate your carefully constructed illusions. It is about being seen so deeply, so completely, that the illusion can no longer survive in the brilliant light of that recognition. You might begin to notice that you are becoming more honest, even when it terrifies you. You start to speak from places within yourself that you had long since silenced to keep the peace. You may find yourself outgrowing people, places, and habits that once felt like the safety of home. You may feel an undeniable pull toward new paths, new understandings of love, new definitions of purpose and identity. This profound shift doesn't happen all at once in a dramatic flash. It happens through a series of small, significant moments. Some of these moments will be painful, some will be breathtakingly beautiful, but all of them will be revealing. And in this sacred, often challenging process, you begin to realize that true love isn't about possession. It's not about holding on to someone or being held by them. It is about reflection, illumination, and mutual expansion. It is about two souls helping each other become who they were always meant to be, not in a forced or coercive way, but in a way that feels like a deep and powerful remembering. The connection itself becomes your greatest teacher, not because it instructs you with words, but because it moves you. It changes the very rhythm of your inner life until the old, familiar song of who you used to be no longer makes sense. When you encounter someone who loves your highest potential just as much as they love your present reality, when their very existence invites your growth more than it seeks your comfort, you are not in the presence of an ordinary bond. You are standing in the midst of something sacred. And though the path forward may be uncertain, and the feelings it evokes may be profoundly unfamiliar, there is one thing you can trust with your entire being. This love was never meant to keep you the same. It was meant to set something powerful, beautiful, and true completely free inside of you. Signs this is not ordinary love. There comes a moment, in the quiet presence of certain people, when time itself seems to slow down. The noise of the world around you begins to fade, and something quieter, deeper, and more ancient begins to speak. This voice is not coming from your mind. It is not logic trying to sort through facts or analyze the situation. It is something far more intimate. It is your intuition. It rises not with words, but with a feeling so distinct, so clear, that it is impossible to ignore. And in that sacred moment, you realize you are not just seeing another person. You are recognizing something deeply familiar within them, something your own soul has been waiting to acknowledge. That inner knowing, that silent hum of recognition, is not accidental. It is the native language of the soul, a quiet but unwavering confirmation that this connection means far more than mere coincidence. You may not be able to explain it to others. You may even struggle to articulate it to yourself. But it's there, undeniable, steady and true, like a gentle pulse you can suddenly feel in your chest when they walk into the room. And no matter how much your rational mind may try to brush it off as fantasy, projection, or wishful thinking, it lingers. It lingers because it isn't based on a fleeting fantasy. It is rooted in a recognition far older and more profound than your current identity. We like to believe that all the real answers lie in the rational mind, but the truth is, the mind is often slow to catch up with what the heart already knows. The mind hesitates, calculates, and fears uncertainty. But the soul doesn't operate in the realm of certainty. It operates in the realm of resonance. And when you meet someone whose energy resonates with yours at that deep, foundational level, no amount of logic can dilute or dismiss what you feel. There is a powerful sense that this person has been woven into your path, not to fulfill a predetermined role or to check boxes on a list, but to awaken something within you that has been silent for far too long. What makes this experience so different from the ordinary is that it doesn't always feel like falling in love. It often feels like remembering a feeling you've never consciously known in this lifetime, but somehow have always carried within you. It is as if your inner world, which may have been closed or guarded, suddenly opens and says with a sigh of relief, "Oh, there you are." Not because you were actively searching, but because some wise and patient part of you was always listening. That profound recognition doesn't require time. It doesn't wait for a logical explanation. It simply arrives, fully formed, as if it had always been there, just beneath the surface of your life, waiting for the right person and the right moment to emerge. And yet, this kind of recognition doesn't always come with immediate clarity. In fact, it can create a great deal of confusion at first, because nothing in your previous life experience has quite prepared you for it. You may question your emotions. You may question your sanity. You may question why someone you have barely known can feel so deeply and undeniably significant. But instead of asking why, I invite you to simply listen. The soul doesn't shout to get our attention. It whispers. And if you can manage to quiet the relentless noise of your doubt, your fear, and your societal conditioning, you will begin to hear what has always been speaking. This is the point where many people hesitate and pull back. We have been trained by our culture to distrust what we cannot easily explain or measure. We have been told that love must follow a predictable script, that it must unfold through logical steps and within the bounds of safety. But a divine connection does not honor those man-made rules. It doesn't grow through calculation. It grows through presence, through depth, and through undeniable resonance. And if your soul recognizes someone, that is a truth far more trustworthy and real than anything the world could ever validate or measure. You may feel drawn to them for reasons you don't fully understand. You may feel exquisitely exposed in their presence, as if they can see right through the layers of personality you have so carefully constructed. But what they see is not your weakness, it is your essence. And to be seen in this way, without effort or performance, is one of the rarest and most healing experiences in a human life. It strips away the need for control, for games, for explanation. It brings you face to face with a deeper intimacy, not just with them, but with yourself. This recognition is not infatuation. It is not attachment. It is alignment. It is two soul frequencies meeting in the quiet of the universe and resonating as one. This encounter may not always lead to a traditional, lifelong story, but that doesn't make it any less real. In fact, it may be more real than anything you've ever known, because it doesn't depend on a promise of the future. It is rooted entirely in the power of presence, in the truth of what is, and in the profound, unshakable knowing that you were meant to meet not to complete each other, but to remind one another of the magnificent light you already carry inside. So, when that quiet knowing rises within you, when your body, your intuition, and your very being light up in someone's presence, trust it. That is not ordinary love. That is a divine bond, speaking to you through the stillness, asking you, finally, to listen. The mirror effect of divine connection, there is a subtle but profound shift that takes place when love moves from being something that simply comforts you to something that actively transforms you. Most people think of love as a feeling, warm, reassuring, a kind of emotional home that offers shelter from the inevitable storms of life. And while love can certainly be gentle and nurturing, when it is sacred, when it is divine, it becomes something far more powerful. It becomes a mirror. And it is not a soft focus mirror that only reflects your best parts, but a crystal, clear, high-definition mirror of your whole self, especially the parts you have been avoiding. When you are truly bonded with someone on that deep, unseen level, they don't just reflect back to you the person you want to be. They reveal to you, with stunning and often uncomfortable accuracy, the person you truly are. And this is not always a pleasant experience. In fact, it rarely is at first. Because when a connection has a divine purpose, it doesn't exist to coddle your illusions. It exists to dissolve them. In the presence of this person, you begin to see yourself through new eyes. You notice your own patterns, your knee-jerk reactions, your carefully constructed defenses. You notice the moments where you pull away, not because of what the other person has said or done, but because of your own deep-seated fear. And this newfound awareness isn't something they explicitly teach you. It's something their very presence activates within you. It is as if the energetic field between you and this person becomes a potent invitation, a persistent call to become more conscious. You may find yourself triggered by things you can't logically explain. You may feel vulnerable in ways you have never experienced before. And this is not a flaw in the bond, it is the purpose of it. Because a divine connection, by its very nature, brings to the surface everything that has been buried. It shows you your wounds, not to cause you more pain, but to offer you an opportunity for profound healing. But that healing can only happen if you are willing to look inward and tell yourself the truth. We all have stories we tell ourselves, stories about who we are, what we deserve, and how love is supposed to look. But when you meet someone who touches your soul, those well-worn stories begin to unravel. You find yourself questioning long-held beliefs, not because they told you to, but because the connection itself reveals how limited and small those beliefs truly are. You might start to see, with painful clarity, how you have been shrinking yourself to fit into love, or abandoning your own needs to feel accepted, or hiding your authentic voice to avoid conflict. And for the first time, you find you are no longer willing to do that, because this bond doesn't demand a mask. It demands your authenticity. That kind of raw, unfiltered honesty can be terrifying. There is no hiding in divine love. There is no room for manipulation, performance, or pretense. You are either fully present with yourself and with them, or you are not. And the more you have the courage to lean into that presence, the more your inner world begins to fundamentally change. You no longer tolerate the little lies you used to tell yourself. You no longer blame others for your own reactive patterns. Instead, you begin to take radical responsibility, not in a state of shame, but in a state of strength. You begin to truly own your journey, your pain, your healing, and your becoming. And that ownership is precisely what begins to liberate you. What is so extraordinary is that this transformation often happens in both directions. You are not just being shaped by the connection, you are also shaping them. You are both mirrors for each other. You are both catalysts for each other. And if you are both willing to face yourselves honestly, what unfolds is not just a relationship, it is co-evolution. You begin to grow together, not by trying to fix each other, but by simply supporting each other's unfolding. You hold space not for perfection, but for truth. And in that sacred space of unconditional presence, healing becomes inevitable. But this path is not for the faint of heart. Divine love tests you. It asks you to let go of your ego's agenda, to surrender your need for control, and to walk through your own darkness with your eyes wide open. It will break you open, not to destroy you, but to release the parts of you that were never truly you in the first place. It will demand that you become conscious of the ways you sabotage intimacy, the ways you shut down, and the ways you run from love. And if you are willing, it will offer you a kind of freedom that no ordinary, comfortable bond could ever provide. The freedom to love and be loved without distortion. So, when someone comes into your life and triggers your deepest wounds, do not immediately assume they are wrong for you. Sometimes the trigger is the gift. It is the doorway to something higher. If you can stay present with the discomfort, stay open to the lesson, and keep choosing growth over comfort, you will find that the very connection that once felt like it might overwhelm you is the same one that ultimately transforms you, because that's what divine love does. It lovingly, relentlessly, and miraculously burns away the false, so the truth of who you are can finally breathe. Separation doesn't end the bond and the soul contract between you. There is something that happens in the silence between words, in the profound stillness between two people who share a bond that isn't built on societal roles or conditional expectations, but on something timeless and true. When love is divine, when the connection transcends the usual definitions, you begin to feel each other without needing to speak. You don't just hear their words, you feel the meaning behind them. You don't just see their face, you sense the state of their soul. This connection isn't dependent on physical proximity. It's not about the frequency of text messages or the length of conversations. It is an inner knowing, a silent, energetic tether, a subtle pulse that beats inside you even when they are miles away. There will be times when you think of them, and a moment later, they suddenly reach out. There will be moments when your heart aches with a mysterious sadness, and you later discover that they were in pain at that very same time. This is not your imagination. This is resonance. Divine love exists on a frequency that goes far beyond the ordinary senses. It speaks through energy, through dreams, and through the meaningful coincidences that dot your path. And once that bond has been fully activated, you are never truly apart from one another. Even in distance, even in silence, the thread remains. It is not attachment, it is soul recognition, and the soul does not forget what it has once known. When you feel what the other person is going through without them having said a single word, you're not just empathizing. You are tuning into something deeper than emotion. You are accessing the shared, sacred space between your spirits. This is why certain people can affect you so strongly without even trying. Their sadness can touch you as if it were your own. Their joy can uplift you even when you are struggling. You sense them in your thoughts, in your dreams, and in quiet moments when you least expect it. And no matter how much time passes, their energy still seems to linger in your field, like a quiet, familiar echo. It is because the bond is not happening at the surface of your life. It is rooted in the unseen, energetic reality that underpins everything. People often try to explain this phenomenon away as mere coincidence or an overactive imagination. But it is neither. It is the natural, logical outcome of a connection that bypasses the rational mind and enters the realm of the soul. And when love reaches that profound level, it is no longer confined by the ordinary rules of time and space. You don't need to be physically close to feel the presence of the other. You carry a part of them within you, just as they carry a part of you. This is not a state of possessiveness. It is a state of perpetual presence, and it doesn't fade with distance. It often deepens with awareness. This connection has the power to show you just how much of reality exists beyond the physical world. We are trained from a young age to value what we can see, touch, and measure. But the most meaningful, life-altering experiences of our lives often defy this limited logic. Love, especially sacred, transformative love, is one of those experiences. You don't fall in love with someone's body. You fall in love with their essence. You fall in love with the timeless, unseen part of them that no one else may ever see. And when that part of them touches that same part of you, it creates a luminous pathway between your souls that cannot be undone. You may try to deny it. You may try to disconnect from it. You may even physically walk away for reasons that make perfect sense in the outer world. But the bond remains. It doesn't pull you back through guilt, obligation, or fear. It gently draws you inward, constantly asking you to feel what is still alive within you. Because real, true love doesn't end when a chapter closes. It simply transforms. It grows quieter, wiser, and deeper. And sometimes, the greatest and most profound form of love is not in holding on, but in honoring that sacred, energetic connection in your heart, even if the rest of the world cannot see it. This energetic bond will challenge you to become more sensitive, more present, and more finely attuned not just to the other person, but most importantly, to yourself. Because to feel another so deeply, you must first be willing to open to your own vast inner world. You must learn to clear the noise of your own mind so that you can hear what is truly being communicated in the sacred silence. And when you do, you will realize that this love was never meant to be ordinary. It wasn't meant to fit neatly into the structures that society has built. It was meant to awaken you, to soften you, and to remind you that some of the most real things in this life cannot be explained. They can only be felt. So, if you find yourself sensing someone's pain without a word being spoken, feeling their presence in your quiet moments, or dreaming of them as if they've never left, know that it is not a mistake. It is not delusion. It is the powerful evidence that something far greater, something orchestrated by your very souls, is at work. Trust that connection, honor it, let it guide you not to possess, not to chase, but simply to remember that in the vast, silent, and beautiful expanse of the soul, love always speaks. And so, if this love has awakened you, if it has pulled you toward the very depths of yourself, if it has challenged your illusions and stirred a pain you didn't even know you were carrying, then trust that it is no ordinary love. It is a divine bond, sent not to complete you, but to reveal you. Jung taught that the meeting of two souls is never by chance. It is the collision of two destinies, perfectly timed to catalyze a profound transformation. And when that kind of love arrives in your life, it doesn't come to help you stay in comfort. It comes to set your soul on fire. Honor it, even if it is difficult. Let it shape you, even if it hurts, because what you are feeling is not just a connection, it is an initiation. And when love touches the soul like that, you are never, ever the same.